Hey guys, Tyrantt here. Welcome to Lesson 3 of Tyrantt's Pro Whooper Freestyle Bootcamp 101. If this is your first time hearing about the bootcamp, then make sure to check out our website at prowhooper.com to learn how to participate and take your freestyle skills to the next level. Before we discuss the details of this week's lesson and trick tutorials, I would love to give a shout out to the sponsor of the week, BetaFPV. Since 2017, BetaFPV has been a leading innovator in the micro drone market, specializing in developing and manufacturing whoops and microquads. They aim to deliver top quality products to pilots worldwide. Known for their commitment to innovation and excellence, BetaFPV has become a prominent brand in the global drone market, reaching over 60 countries, including the US, Europe, and Asia. BetaFPV recently released their new Air series, which includes the Air65 brushless whoop. The Air65 is designed for ultra lightweight performance, weighing just 17 grams, and offers exceptional speed and agility. Equipped with an advanced flight controller and powerful motors, it is perfect for both high-speed racing and smooth freestyle flying. Paired with their 300 mAh lava LiPo batteries, this combination provides incredible performance with extended flight times, making it ideal for all whoop enthusiasts. In summary, BetaFPV is dedicated to advancing the FPV hobby by providing high-quality, innovative products that makes flying fun and accessible for everyone. Whether you're just starting out or you're a seasoned pro, BetaFPV has something to offer for everyone. So make sure to take advantage of their Air series to experience the cutting edge of FPV technology. Now, leading us through this week's lesson and trick tutorials is our featured mentor of the week, Mo FPV. With just under 2 years of flying under his belt, Mo has rapidly emerged as an incredible freestyle pilot and a pivotal figure in the micro drone community. His content is a treasure trove of in-depth reviews, informative tutorials, and stunning freestyle videos. Mo's expertise in microquads and FPV gear provides invaluable insights for both novice and experienced pilots. Make sure to subscribe to his channel so you don't miss out on some of his great content. Now, let's pass it over to Mo, who will introduce this week's lesson and trick tutorials to go with it.
Thank you, Tyrantt, and what is up, y'all? This is Mo, and welcome to week 3, already week 3 of Freestyle Bootcamp 101. I'm your host, Mo FPV, to bring you the 3 tricks of the week that we're going to be learning, and one of them is actually my personal favorite, the Split S. Classic, great FPV trick. Every pilot should know it. It's going to be the backbone of all your tricks and maneuvers for the rest of your time in FPV. We're also going to learn the inverted rewind, which is a cool little trick, not as difficult as it may sound, and the cradle, which doesn't sound difficult, but actually is pretty difficult. But don't worry, we're going to break it down step by step in a trick tutorial that I'm going to show y'all in the simulator. We're going to get to that in a second. And then finally, as a gift to y'all, because we're so generous, the bonus objective for this week, which is it's probably the best bonus objective is going to be for the rest of the week, so it's mine, I got it, is building dives. Everyone loves building dives as long as we're being safe and adhering to all laws and regulations. But building dives are great. You're going to love them. They're not really difficult, but they're very exciting, palm sweaty type of exciting. We're going to be giving away a lot of prizes. I'm going to be giving away a bind and fly made by yours truly, so you're going to want to stick around for that. But let's hop into the simulator and get some of these tricks down. Let's check it out.
All right, y'all. So here we are in the simulator, the FPV simulator known as VelociDrone. We're going to be using this today to get a feel for the tricks we're going to be learning this week. I'm going to have my stick overlay in the bottom of the screen there, so just keep an eye on that once we're going over the tricks to get a feel for, you know, what you're going to have to do. But I highly recommend every FPV pilot download a simulator to practice on. You know, this is going to be the best way to get a general feel for what stick movements are going to be required in order to do these tricks. And the best part about it is, you know, when we crash, we're not going to break anything. So, you know, I go full speed into this wall, may have bent a prop or maybe even have broken an arm in real life, but in the simulator I just respawn and we're ready to go. So enough about that. Definitely, again, download a simulator. We're going to be using BetaFPV, but there are many other simulators out there, so definitely highly recommend it. Can't recommend it enough. But all right, let's get into the trick tutorial, shall we? And we're going to be learning 3 new tricks this week, and I think we're going to start with the inverted rewind. It's going to look something like this. That's a little bit slower of a style. You can also do it snappy like this. Hup, hup. Whatever your flight style lends itself to, you don't have to figure that out yet. We can figure that out as we go. And we're also going to be learning something called a cradle, which looks something like this. It's a pretty move. That's a pretty move. It's a little more complicated than it looks, but we'll break it down and we'll figure it out. And then finally, we're going to be learning my favorite trick, which is called a split S. Looks something like this. It's beautiful. And we can use that split S maybe later to do something like a little bit of a building dive. Everyone loves the building dives. But all right, we're going to break them down one by one, starting with the inverted rewind. All right, so starting off with the inverted rewind, we're just going to go over what the trick is, and then we'll get into, you know, how to do it and maybe the style of it, what makes it look good, what doesn't, etc. All you're going to be doing here is a half roll or half pitch in one direction. So I'm going to roll to the right, going to hold it, and then roll to the left. Roll to the left, roll to the right, pitch back, pitch forward, or pitch forward and pitch back. That's essentially all a inverted rewind is. Now, how I would learn this if I was how I recommend learning it if I was a newer pilot is if you're in the sim or if you're in real life, I would get a little bit of height. Let's say about here. Let's use the building for reference here. And I'm going to give it a little bit of a throttle blip. So watch my left stick on the middle of the screen there. I'm going to blip it and cut it. This will give you a little bit of extra float time, and we can do our trick while we're still ascending. But the important part is we're going to want 0 throttle while we're doing it, or else, you know, if we kept throttle, we're going to get pulled in the direction we're facing. I know that's probably self-explanatory, but, you know, when you're mixing in a couple of different motions at once, things can get a little bit hectic. So we're going to do a little bit of a throttle up, cut throttle. We're going to hit to the right and hit back. Throttle up, flip to the left, flip to the right. Throttle up, pitch forward, pitch back. And throttle up, pitch back, pitch forward. That's essentially what the trick is. Now, whether or not this looks good to you, well, that's up to you. I think the important part of making this trick look good is trying to make sure we're stopping at pretty much 90 degrees, or we're pretty much a flat horizon, I should say, before we snap back to what is another flat horizon. So flat horizon, as close as you can get to it. I'm not a snappy pilot. I don't like to make my tricks like super snappy, like a Mr. Steel type of snap. I'm more of a slow roller, so something like that is how I would do this maneuver. The pitch one, you kind of make it into a look back, so we're looking back at the object before we snap back. I think that looks the best, but that is just completely stylistic. If you get good at snapping, you know, something to be said about snapping to that 90 degree, also a good looking thing. But I would say worry about getting the trick down before we find our style, but always something to be thinking about, because that's what makes FPV fun. There's no right or wrong way to do things. It's about what feels right for you, self-expression, all that good stuff. But that's the essence of the inverted rewind. All right, so now we're going to be moving on to the next trick, which is my favorite trick in FPV. The split S looks a little bit of something like this. A beautiful trick, very fun trick, so a trick you're going to be doing for the rest of your FPV career. it's great. And the inverted rewind helped us set up a little bit for the inputs that we're going to need to do this. So I recommend starting in a similar ways. If you're in the FPV sim or if you're in person, you've never done this before, get a little bit of height, try to find an object to reference, a POI to reference. We're going to use this building. We're going to give it a little bit of a throttle blip again. We're going to roll to the right or left, and then you're going to start pitching down and throttling up. That's all the split S is. If we break it down to its core movements, is a half roll, half pitch, and then a throttle to get out of that free fall or that dive. You know, that what makes the trick look good is when we start to blend those two elements together. So if we do a half roll and we start pitching down at the same time, it becomes a smoother movement, a fluid movement. That's what eventually we're going to shoot for. But to start, and you can roll to whatever side you're most comfortable, left or right, pitch down, throttle up. I'll try to exaggerate the movements. Watch the sticks in the middle of the screen again. We're going to do a roll to the right, pitch down, throttle up. And that's essentially what a split S is. You know, it can be used for a number of different things. Probably the most popular or the most exciting is a building dive. A lot of them are done via a split S. So, you know, we start the maneuver. Oh, we ride that building pretty much into the ground and as close as we can to it. You know, once we do that half roll, half pitch, we're looking, you know, down the face of the building, and we accelerate out of it. Now, there's a lot of, again, what makes a trick look good to you is completely individualized, completely personal preference. For my split S's, I try to keep them smooth, keep them one fluid motion, trying to mix in that half roll and that pitch at the same time. I think that's what looks best. But, you know, that to each his own, to each their own. You can do split S's however you'd like. But this is a great trick. Highly recommend it. Just, again, focus on those two movements. At its core, that's what it is. A half roll, pitch, throttle up. And, yeah, just play around with it in the sim before you start breaking stuff in the real life. And that brings us to the final trick we're going to learn this week, called the Cradle. Looks a little something like this. So it's a good looking trick. It's pretty, but I will tell you all this right off the bat. This is not an easy trick. This is the most difficult thing we're going to learn this week, and partly the reason why is it's going to require we manipulate pretty much all of our axes to get it looking like that. We can simplify it a little bit if we just use maybe pitch and throttle, something like that. But it's going to take some getting used to. I tried to figure out, you know, what would be the best way to learn this trick, and this is what I came up with. So the first thing we're going to try to keep in mind when we're doing this trick is our elevation, and we're going to have to manipulate the throttle a couple different ways in order to maintain it. So you'll notice, you know, if we're flying in a straight line, you know, our throttle is at an input where we're not really ascending or descending, and we just decide to pitch backwards. We're going to slowly start coming back down to the ground. And in order to, how we're going to avoid this is we're going to have to manipulate our throttle. We're going to have to give it a little bit of throttle at some different points, maybe cut our throttle a little bit. And I think the best way in order to learn this is to pitch backward until we stop, and then start giving ourselves throttle to level out. So this is what we're looking for here. Ready? So we didn't really lose too much elevation there, and we didn't really gain too much. Because if we're going fast at an object, right? I'm going to use the bridge for reference, and we pitch up, we're going to go straight into that bridge because we have momentum, and then all of a sudden we're going to pitch straight up. We're going to hit the inside of this window. So in order to avoid this, watch my throttle. Once we pitch back, we're going to start cutting our throttle, and then we have to give ourselves throttle to get back from falling into the ground. So I guess for this exercise, how I want you all to start is by flying forward, pitching backwards, and kind of keeping that throttle, finding that balance point where we're not ascending, we're not descending. We're just kind of keeping that bridge or that object in the same spot. This is especially useful to learn on the simulator, but it can also be done in real life. It's just nice to have a point of reference above our heads to know if we are indeed ascending, descending, etc. Once we get comfortable with this type of stop, this flat stop, then I think we can start looking into the cradle. I think this is a good place to learn, a good place to start if we have no reference of how to do this maneuver, because it's a little bit tricky. And just as a quick aside, a quick bonus of what we're learning here, with this type of this pitch back, maintaining our altitude here, this can be used, and I often use it for when I find myself in a bad spot. Maybe I'm flying around, not paying attention. All of a sudden, the building is there. If we pitch back and throttle up, it's essentially an emergency brake. So we have a lot of speed. Oh, we don't want to hit that building. That's what we can use that for. So just as a little bonus, as you get more comfortable with that, you can also use it to bail your butt out of bad situations. But all right, let's get into the cradle here. So we're going to find an object, something like a light post, a tree, a pole, anything narrow. The narrower, the better. Okay, and if we have a smaller quad, I also recommend starting on a smaller quad. A whoop would be the best, in my opinion. But okay, so we're gonna come from the side, either the right or the left side. So I'm looking at that middle pole here. Let's start with the left. We're gonna come from the left side, give it a little bit of speed. We're gonna pitch back, cut our throttle a little bit, throttle up, pitch forward. Now from the right, a little bit of speed. We're going to pitch back, cut the throttle a little bit, throttle up. And this is very micro movements. You can probably tell on my stick, I'm manipulating the throttle a little bit, but it's very, very minor. And that's really the kind of the difficulty that comes with a lot of these tricks, a lot of these precision tricks, is just how little you have to manipulate the sticks. My rates are kind of moderate. They're not very sensitive. They're not very not sensitive. And I'm doing very little manipulation here. But at its basic form, that's what the cradle is. We don't really have to add anything else. Just the pitch back, less throttle, pitch up. How I do this trick, and if this is already kind of comfortable for you, then we want to start blending in yaw to track the object a little bit further. So watch my sticks here. I'm kind of yawing to keep that object in my POV for a little bit longer here, and that's what I think starts to make the trick look good. It is a really good looking trick. I use it to turn around a lot instead of just, if we're going around here, instead of just doing maybe a turn, I want to spice it up a little bit. We're going to come here and go, whoa, that's pretty, that's good looking. So this is a very difficult trick, y'all. I'm not going to lie. If you don't get this, especially if you're a newer pilot and you can't get this, in the week's time that you have, it's completely understandable. This is a very difficult trick. It takes a lot of different inputs to get looking good, or even just do period. So please do not get discouraged. If you can get just even the regular one where we're just kind of pitching back and throttling, even if the object goes outside of our FOV a little bit, we're not completely focused on it, it's still very good. This takes a lot of control to do. So anyway, if you have any questions about any of this at any point, looking for tips, if you want to send me, your flight footage, ask me what you're doing wrong, please feel free. I will gladly do that for y'all, give you as best of a tip as I can. And most importantly, just enjoy it, have fun. That's what flying is all about. These tricks, these maneuvers help us maybe express ourselves a little bit more, our flight styles. But the important part is just to enjoy yourself. Get out there and enjoy flying. And fly micros, fly tiny whoops.
All right, really quickly, we're just going to show some real-life flying examples of these tricks so you can get a sense for how they may look. Starting with the inverted rewind. We're going to slow it down here for you in a second. But the important part is, make sure you get a little bit of height, as much height as you're really comfortable with getting. We're going to give a little bit of a throttle blip before we invert ourselves, either by rolling one direction or pitching one direction, and then pitching the opposite direction, rolling the opposite direction to get out of it. Try it. You can either snap 90 or you can slow roll 90. You can experiment with whatever way feels comfortable to you. And I would recommend getting maybe a little bit more height than I did here, because the more height we have, the more time we have to fall. So don't be afraid to get a little bit high if you can navigate that drone back to you safely. Next, we're looking at the split S here. Same idea. We're going to get as much height as we're comfortable with. We're going to do a little bit of a throttle blip before cutting the throttle to 0, rolling either to the left or the right, and then pitching downward to level ourselves out while throttling up to get out of that free fall. So once again, we're going to roll here. I'm going to start pitching downward to level out, and then I'm also going to start throttling to get out of that dive. And finally, it's the cradle. This is going to be the tough one, I think. You know, just remember we're going to be approaching this object on an angle. Before we pitch downward, we pitch back, and then pitch forward to level ourselves out. Keep an eye on the bottom left. That's the throttle. We're actually going to cut throttle a little bit as we get into our backwards movement. Then we're going to throttle up as we level out to prevent the quad from hitting the ground. One more time here. We're approaching from an angle. We're pitching back while throttling down slightly. We're now pitching up while throttling up to get back and away from that object. Keep trying that one. That one's a tricky one. And that leads us to the final objective for the week, the bonus objective that is a building dive. One of the funnest things to do in FPV, as long as we're being safe and responsible. What I have in the background is a couple of examples of building dives that I had done. And what's cool about this being part of the challenge for this week is that it incorporates a move that we learned, the split S. You'll notice as I go into this dive, we're going to do a nice roll here. That's like a split S, and now we're falling down the face of this building. Now, it's important with this week to keep in mind all of your local laws, regulations, people's safety. You can notice that there's no one in there, no one around the bottom of that church there, even though I'm flying a 20-something gram tiny whoop. But you know what I mean. And just a slow motion look at what the building dive should look like. We're going to be split S-ing into the dive, and you'll notice that my camera is sort of tilted facing the wall. That's what's going to bring you into the wall or keep your distance away. If we look away from the wall, we're obviously going to go away from it. And if we look toward it too much, we're going to get pulled into it. I'll let y'all experiment and have a fun time with that. Again, just be safe, be cautious. It doesn't have to be a building. It just has to be something cool and have fun. All right, y'all, and just to wrap up what we have learned, what we went over, and just to mention, firstly, I guess, and foremost, seriously, be safe if you're going to be going out and doing some building dives. Whenever, buildings are usually around people and quads don't mix, at least head-to-head wise. So be safe. Adhere to all laws and regulations. We assume no responsibility. Be safe, y'all. Fly small quads like these tiny whoops here. Best way to dive buildings, 20 some odd grams, 30 all up weight, super safe, super fun. No one's gonna look at you weird when you get a little plastic toy flying around. Get those 5 inches out of here. I don't want to see them. You can fly whatever you want, but just be safe. We learned the split S this week. We learned the inverted rewind, and we learned the cradle. Somewhat easy, somewhat difficult tricks. The cradle is definitely the most difficult trick. The inverted rewind is not too bad, and the split S, you're going to have to learn it because it's amazing. It's the best trick in FPV. And one final thing to note about the building dives, it doesn't necessarily have to be a building. It can be a structure, a statue, a big tree. I think we're asking for more than 50 feet. If you got it around you, if you don't worry. At least for the prize that I'm giving on, I'm just going to be picking the most interesting dive. It doesn't have to be the best. You don't have to be doing tricks and freestyle on the way down. You can just be diving a cool thing. Maybe it's visually appealing. You can absolutely do cool tricks. All those things we factored in. But be safe, fly safe, and have fun. And thanks for watching. This has been Mo. I'm going to toss it back to Tyrantt. Have fun.
Hey, thanks for showing us how it's done, Mo. So, just to recap, this week we're focusing on learning how to do split S's cradles, and inverted rewinds, with an optional bonus challenge of performing a building dive and a chance to earn Mo's prize challenge by performing a building dive that Mo personally finds to be the most interesting. The winner is going to get a bind and fly that is personally crafted by Mo himself. The deadline to submit your video is Saturday, August 17th at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. To accommodate long building dives, the time limit for this lesson will be increased to 90 seconds for those who are actually performing a building dive. However, if you're not performing a building dive, the time limit will still be 60 seconds. Once your video is ready, upload it to YouTube, make sure it's set to public or enlisted, and share the link via the submission form on prowhooper.com. And we would love to see your progress, so please make sure to share your video in our bootcamp video section on Discord. Showcasing your journey will help track your progress, inspire and motivate fellow pilots, and help you connect with others within the community. The review livestream is planned to be next Saturday, August 17th at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And we will be hosting a midweek Pro Whooper Show livestream to showcase the best videos from this week's challenge on August 21st. These videos will be judged beforehand, and the winner will be announced during the livestream. The standout pilot who performs the most interesting dive this week will be awarded the NewBeeDrone Pilot of the Week prize. Not only is NewBeeDrone sponsoring the Pilot of the Week prize, but they are also hosting a special giveaway. One lucky Bootcamp 101 participant will win a $200 gift card to NewBeeDrone. Be sure to sign up for the giveaway by clicking the link in the video description or in the lessons detail page. And finally, we will be giving away over $533 worth of prizes this week, including BetaFPV's new air flight controllers, cash, gift cards, frames, and more. Make sure to submit your video on time for a chance to get your hands on these fantastic prizes. If you'd like 2-day early access to have more time to work on these lessons, or if you'd like to support the time, effort, and money that goes into Pro Whooper, please consider becoming a Patreon member. You can also support us by using our affiliate links on prowhooper.com, in our YouTube video descriptions, or anywhere we provide a link. Your support is greatly appreciated. And that about wraps it up. For the written details of this week's lesson, as well as access to our visual Trictionary, build list, leaderboards, and more, please visit prowhooper.com. I'd like to conclude by thanking everyone for participating in Freestyle Bootcamp 101. I'm really excited to see some cool building dives this week, so with that being said, have fun, happy flying, and Tyrantt out.